It's so important to have a North Star these days, and they're not supposed to stay the same forever. Mine definitely didn't. I went from wanting stability to being a great designer to having freedom through working for myself. And nowadays, it's probably something I'm still trying to figure out, but it's about becoming just a more well rounded human. And I don't want to just be this graphic design guy on the internet anymore. And today, I want to talk to you about how your goals evolve, why that's normal, and how you can build a good life that isn't stuck in this scarcity mindset and survival mode. So let's get into it. Welcome to Glue FM, ideas, conversations, and stories that help you keep it all together. I'm Jesse, and I'm excited for this episode today. If you clicked on this video or podcast, whatever, and you're like, oh, I know what a North Star is, or you don't, or you may have an idea. I mean, it's all just kind of a synonym for having one concrete goal or one concrete kind of thing that guides you, through your life. And it's not, I kind of misspoke a little bit. It's not one specific goal, right? It's not just like, oh, make money or become good at this. It's more like this overarching guiding light that can help you have clarity between all the different decisions that you're going to make. I think as a human, you make like hundreds or thousands of decisions a day, something like that. That's some armchair psychology. Don't quote me exactly, but I remember reading something like that. And when you don't have a clear vision or a clear North Star, for lack of a better word, your life can feel very random, chaotic, overwhelming. If you don't know the direction that all the stuff that you should be working towards is heading to, it can feel really hard to get by your day-to-day activities, do your job correctly, build relationships, figuring out what will benefit you and what will hurt you, who to help, who not to help. And one of the biggest things is figuring out what to say yes and no to. I remember I learned early on during my freelance design career and also creating content, design content and stuff like that. You really not only have to figure out what's important to say yes to and what opportunities that you absolutely should not pass up, but more importantly than that, what opportunities you should say no to. The power of saying no is one of the most kind of groundbreaking ideas, even though it's so simple, that I learned in my career and in my life that has really helped me. Because if you're saying yes to everything, it's probably a sign that you don't have clear direction and you don't have a North Star. And I've been there and we've all been there, and it's really hard. So it's important to have this kind of guiding light that gives meaning to this grind, especially when progress to stuff is so slow. When you're working towards something, let's say it's being a better human, being a better designer, being a better artist, being better at school, business, whatever, everyone is trying to become better, nicer, and just overall, ideally, everyone should be trying to work towards kind of being the best versions of themselves, and not even in a grind set way, but just that's kind of the point of life, is having a good time, taking care of your fellow people, and becoming a better version of yourself, hopefully through healthy methods, and when you don't have this clear vision, that daily grind or working towards something really sucks, because it's so slow to work. When I was first freelancing, it was so slow to work towards what I wanted. And it's really hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel. It's like when, compound interest with investing, when you start investing in like a slow S&P 500 or some kind of retirement fund, it's so boring and it's so slow. But after 5-10 years, you start to see like, oh shit, actually kind of worked. I think it was Albert Einstein or someone who said compound interest is the ninth wonder of the world. I always just be throwing out quotes that I kind of know, but not really. And nowadays I can get fact checked, but something like that. Anyway, the point of what I'm trying to make is it's so important to have a North Star, but it's also important to know that these things will constantly change and evolve as you grow. And I want to talk a little bit about my story and how those things have changed over the years, and why it's, I think, healthy and a good sign of improvement and a good sign that you're bettering your life and on the right track if you're having these guiding lights and North Stars throughout different phases or seasons of your life. And your North Star does not just have to be career driven. I don't want this to seem like it's just some capitalism driven thing where it's like make the most money, be the best at your job, grind it out, work your way up the ladder. It's not that. This can be benefiting yourself as mental health. This can be fitness goals. This can be creative growth, career stuff. Yes, too. This can be becoming the best possible neighbor, family member, husband, wife, boyfriend, partner, whatever. This could be many different things. And I just want you to look at it through kind of a open lens like that, not just career stuff. I feel like the lighting hella changed. Maybe it's the sun or something. I don't know. I can't control the weather, Jackie. For me, my first North Star, honestly, looking back at it, was probably just safety and stability. Growing up, pretty poor, living in Section 8 housing, having, for the most part, a single mother, and watching her struggle and my family struggle, and trying to, how hard it was to be in those positions, especially as a single child. You're kind of just by yourself a lot, and you're really introspective, and you're really thinking. You spend a lot of time thinking about how it sucks to not have a lot of money and how it's hard to get by in these times. And when you don't have one thing like I took for granted a lot nowadays, I feel like that I've forgotten about almost, is when you don't have financial stability or when you're worrying about money, it takes up so much of your mental energy. This whole North Star thing, what do you want to do in your career? What do you want to do for therapy? This and that, like benefiting your life in all these other ways. It's almost impossible if you're worrying about some of your basic needs already. If you're worrying about where you're going to live, where you're going to eat, having enough money for basic needs, not just wants. And a lot of stuff that we need is wants. But I'm talking about like the bare bones stuff that a lot of people don't even get to have all the time. When you're worrying about that, that can be the only thing that is your North Star at that point. I truly believe, because you're still trying to get out of a situation that is hard. I really do think growing up in a less than fortunate situation did give me this really big discipline and drive and kind of chip on my shoulder to get out of that. I really wanted to become someone who could break the chain of kind of generational poverty or lower class living and stuff, because it sucks. I had a wonderful life for the most part. I think. I don't know. I think sometimes I downplay it too, but worrying about money and stuff sucks. So that was definitely my first kind of thing that I had a goal. And that really got me trapped in this scarcity mindset, and being poor or broke really becomes part of your identity. And this made my North Star shape every single decision. It made me get a job when I was 15 and a half, right on the limit where I could get the worker's permit, working at Del Taco, making like $7 an hour or whatever it was at the time. It made me want to go to college, and it made me want to figure out something that I love and make enough money off of it to just be stable. The stuff I've gotten to do now and the money I've been able to make from doing content and being a decent designer is nothing I could have ever imagined. I did not know that being able to do well off of like art and a non-traditional path could work for someone like me, but it did. And I was able to only get to this point by first breaking through this kind of scarcity mindset and this, getting out of the trenches or whatever you want to call it, that type of thing. And I would say after that, the first true North Star where I felt like I actually had some purpose outside of just survival was discovering design, quite honestly. I discovered graphic design through a high school course taught by an amazing dude named Mr. Murray over at San Dimas High. He taught me a lot about, basic stuff that I don't have to go into the details about, like Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff like that, and screen printing and whatnot. But more importantly than that, he taught me that how nice it is to have something that you really like. Before, all I was worried about was making money and getting out of this situation in the abstract. But now I had a real North Star and something that I could actually work at and try to become better at. And it's so nice to have like that goal and purpose that's not just monetary. Like it's pure passion. And I was doing design for the love of the game. Also, that entrepreneur in me, was hustling, making clothing brands in high school, selling shirts and stuff like that. But it was so nice to feel purpose for the first time. And I think once I went to college, this kind of big goal and North Star became, okay, I want to get better at this. I want to learn how this works even more. I want to become as best as I can without completely burning myself out as a designer. And then I was like, I really want to move to Los Angeles after I graduate and work at a cool studio or, just getting better at this craft, but also having kind of a goal on the side. Like I want to work at a studio or an agency or a cool in-house company. And I think the hard work did pay off. I loved design. I did all these shitty client projects through college that probably weren't great, and personal work that was so also, but it did show that I truly loved something. And when I started applying to jobs after school, hundreds before I got anything. However, a lot of the interviews did point out, oh, I really like that you did this on your own and stuff. So that helped separate. I think in any artistic or creative pursuit, your portfolio having stuff that is separate from just schooling or just the stuff that everyone else is doing at the colleges and universities is crucial. And I did that. I kind of worked at the cool agency doing movie posters for stuff in Hollywood. I worked for freelancing for some studios, like design and creative studios. I worked in-house at this company called Art of Sport. But I could never really feel fully content or fully free until I wanted to become independent through just freelancing. So once I started freelancing, I think for me, that was the next big North Star and big goal. And I'm trying to kind of show you how throughout your life, this stuff will drastically change. The stuff I'm doing now, I had no fucking clue that this would be happening. And who even knows if this is the correct pursuit right now? But I like it and it's fun. But when I first quit my job, my goal, honestly, was just to make enough money as a freelancer. It's like maybe as much as I was as an employee, as a designer. But I thought I'll have way more time, way more freedom. I can do something. And this was a really high anxiety, but high growth time in my life. And it was also COVID. I was overworking, probably undercharging for a lot of stuff, saying yes to almost everything. And this is when I still really had these limiting beliefs from this survival mode and chaos that I kind of grew up in. Like, I can't spend any of my money. If I stop this grind, everything will collapse. I need to work, and save. And that kind of hyper grind mode that I went through for a couple years, it benefited me now, but I don't know if it's a net positive considering probably how much toll it took on like my mental health and energy. But that's when this kind of new North Star, became like making enough money doing design through just independent freelancing stuff. So I don't have to go back to a place I was in before. You gotta fucking risk it for the biscuit sometimes. And I tried it and I thought, if I fail, I'll go back to another job if I don't make enough money. It's been like 5 years. We're still cooking. So it kind of worked out. And at this same time, two really big things happened. One really positive and one really negative. I mean, the worst thing happened, really. But the best thing happened too at this time. So this next kind of era I went through, the North Star moved again to creating content. I started creating design content, during COVID, way back then. I was emulating just people I saw doing tutorials and basic stuff, not really knowing what the path would be or ever thinking I'd become like a creator. But my goal kind of was maybe one day I'll make enough off just content. That way, the design projects that I do want to work on aren't solely reliant on money, and they can be the ones that I'm the most passionate about, right? And luckily, I'm at that position these days. Content is almost like my day job now. It's so crazy how well you can do through ads, brand deals, stuff like that, and creating content, how big that creator economy whole world is. And now it's like my day job, right? Instead of working on these super boring brand identities and corporate stuff for banks that I did as design so I could then work on the fun music stuff and posters and this and that, I kind of use content as that subsidization kind of tank that can make enough money. That way I can work on super fun projects that are album art, music stuff, help nonprofits, people who maybe don't have big enough budgets but want to work on something truly cool. It's nice to be able to kind of say yes to the stuff just for the sake of the art and not purely having to suck the money out of everything. And that's such a privileged place to be in nowadays. And it only comes from working that other stuff up. But for a while, it sucks when your job, a lot of it is spent doing the high paying stuff that isn't as rewarding, because it doesn't leave you a lot of time to do the stuff you truly want to do, but you need it and you have to say no to so much stuff because it's like you don't have time to work on lower budget stuff. But creating content was cool. You know, I built an audience, I built some kind of community, and I realized I didn't have to chase every single client. I could kind of have a little bit more stability and, like I said, choosing more meaningful projects. However, this is like 2021 to 2023 when I went through like COVID and stuff and chilling in LA, not being able to go out much. On my birthday is when life hit a lot harder. And this is, you know, kind of a pivotal moment, I would say, in my arc or whatever, because doing the content, doing the freelancing, making enough money, living in LA, it was so cool. You know, it was so cool being able to do that off of just design and content and being like, I did the thing I said I always wanted to do and it's working. That was such a cool thing. And then I start to feel like out of this survival kind of scarcity mode, like maybe life's all right. Maybe you can spend money. Maybe you can enjoy things. And during COVID, I lost my mom. My mom passed away. And not from COVID. It was unrelated, but this was on my birthday. You know, that's kind of how I found out, because she didn't call me. And I was like, that's, you know, strange. We had a very chaotic relationship, extreme highs, extreme lows. I think it's hard being a single mom, raising someone like me who's all over the place and, you know, very about what I'm about and think what I think, and having her own issues and stuff. But she never called, and then I was like, yeah, that's not something that she would do, because at the very least, I knew she always loved me. That was one big thing. And that's when life was just like, yeah, everything isn't working out. And, you know, this is kind of a big moment that reshaped kind of my North Star too. And this is when I was like, I want to make it and do even better and for what she would have wanted for me. And it's the hardest possible thing, I think, that I deal with this situation, is that she passed like right before, you know, right before is like 6 months or a year. I feel like I really started figuring it out as myself and as a human, and treating her better and being, you know, more mature about the whole relationship and accepting all the downsides and upsides, but also monetarily and career wise, it's when I really started doing well. And it just sucked that she went through all this poverty and raising me through all this, and I never got to repay that back, you know? And yeah, she just never got to enjoy the flowers, you know? I would love to put her up in a apartment or help in some major ways and stuff like that. But what this does now is that sent me through this crazy trauma filled grind mode. I've talked about it in other video once, I think, on the main channel. And she was there with me, I think, and I honored her through the grind, for lack of a better phrase. And what I'm realizing now is I can still honor people who are past and do what I think that would make them proud through, learning to build a life that like honors that and fulfills those goals that I have, that isn't just defined by trauma. Like, obviously that trauma's there and the bad stuff's there, but I think nowadays I'm learning it's important to let that grief and those emotions soften you and make you a better human, instead of hardening you and making you jaded and pessimistic. If you talk to my wife or any of my close friends, then you'll know I'm somewhat pessimistic. I complain a lot, but it's like I'm just bitching, I'm not complaining about true things, but I think it's just because I'm like, it's so easy to feel like, nothing's working out. But when in doubt, zoom out. You look at everything, you're like, shit, stuff's working out pretty well. Like, shit's been worse and it can be worse. So it's good to enjoy the moments that you're in. I think after all that kind of financial and career growth and that also simultaneous loss, the last year or so, I was kind of in this survival mode hangover. But now that I feel like I've proven to myself that I can make enough money on my own as a truly independent creative, and I can focus on goals outside of just career and money, like mental health, going to therapy, physical health, being a better friend, being a better partner, just being a better human. It's nice to now be in this like mode where I can fully focus on that stuff. It's like the opposite of the mode you're in when you're in that upbringing grind mode, where all you're worrying about is finding the next thing that can get you out of the situation you're in. Now I'm like trying to keep the situation I have and not feel guilty on spending money that I can, or not being so extremely frugal or cheap when I want to buy stuff for other people or do experiences that I think will benefit my life or my family or my friends, and just saying yes, not out of fear, to saying yes to like things that help me, not out of just fear and needing more and more and more and trying to figure out how to do it, but out of actual desire and things I love, and more not hoarding money, not hoarding opportunities or my time. I've learned this firsthand. Like, I know if you're listening to this and you're in a position where you're still worrying about money or you're still worrying about your basic needs, I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but you can get out of that, and you will if you find something you love and work hard enough and have that true direction and North Star. But when you do, make sure to take a second to step back and realize and appreciate what you have done. Be happy that you did something for yourself or for others or for your community, and appreciate it, and don't take it for granted, and enjoy it, because we don't have a lot of time on this planet. So if you have the means to have a little bit more of a better time, do it, or else you're doing a disservice to all the people who aren't able to at that moment. You know how annoying it is to have resources or money or time to do cool shit and not do it, and people that really want to do that seeing you just waste it? Don't be reckless or an idiot, but live within your means and try to live the most fruitful life possible that gives you the most fulfillment, whatever that is. I mean, maybe I'm saying this to convince myself too, but it's nice to kind of feel like I'm not constantly living in a life that might just fall apart at any moment. But that survival mode, it did work. It did get me where I need to be now. It did save me. It did make me like successful or whatever, for the lack of the better, it did work. But it doesn't have to be who I am now. And like your North Star, your identity and what you're about and what you value and what's important to you should constantly evolve and change if you want to see more growth and if you want to just be a more full and curious human again. And I think that's where I'm at with it now. My North Star right now is continuing to do the things I love, graphic design, art, video games, whatever, but also expand it more, getting more into climbing, focus more into, I love cars, I love music, I love mental health stuff, self-improvement, talking about different things and perspective, but from a place of curiosity and fulfillment, not survival or fear. And I don't no longer want to be just this design guy because I think my identity is bigger than that. And I think all of you, whatever you do or whatever you made your identity about, your career, you work out a lot, your job, whatever, you're not just that. You're multifaceted. You do a lot of other cool shit. And a lot of other people probably want to hear about it. And if they don't, who cares? But I think it's nice now. I think I'm in a mode where I can let myself fully explore other interests and do things that bring me joy, not just money, and do things that hopefully benefit my creative health, my mental health, give me new passions, becoming someone that, I want to become someone that my younger self would never have imagined. Like, in terms of not being a shithead and being grateful and doing well and having love around me and giving it to others too, and not being so pessimistic and, making decisions through scarcity and trauma and things like that. I know this, I'm like, sorry, talking about myself, but I don't know how else sometimes to communicate ideas that I want besides giving my own experience and something only I can tell you from what I've seen. And that's kind of what I want part of this show to be about. And I'm hoping that that's coming off that way. And I hope that hearing some of this story has got you kind of thinking about your own goals, your own North Star, and what you really want to focus on this year. We're in the new year now, so this is the perfect time for this type of thinking. And some of the few things I want to leave you with, if you're listening to this and wondering, like, do I have a North Star? What the hell is this guy talking about? The first signs you don't have one are you say yes to absolutely everything, mostly out of fear or thinking you'll miss out on something, but it doesn't go with the goals and the things that you're aligned with. You keep starting a bunch of different jobs, a bunch of different projects, a bunch of different pursuits, that person that's always doing another new thing that never really pans out. That's a big one. You feel busy and you feel like you're doing something, but it's almost like this performative busy work and you're distracting yourself because you don't maybe feel proud of what you're actually doing. And that can suck because you're motivated and you work hard, but maybe you're directionless. And I'm so grateful I found a few of these things along the road that I really liked. Design, making content, rock climbing, different little cool things I like to work towards and get better at. If you don't think you found your life's purpose for the moment, whatever that may be, then I think your life's purpose should be trying to figure out what that is until you do. Life is so much more rewarding and fun when you have that one thing that really drives you and helps wrap everything together and make you feel a little more structured and complete and having direction. And I don't want to just leave you with this like, well, fuck, I'm that. If you're sitting there like, that's me, dude. I just did 20 side projects this last year and it didn't work out. Don't worry. Here's some things. I wrote this stuff down. So here's some things on how I think you, the listeners, can find your own North Star. Look at what you're really pulled toward. Not what other people tell you should like, not what your parents, not what makes the most money, none of that. What really is something you're excited about and passionate about? And don't even think about it if it's something that hasn't been proven can make money or anything like that. I didn't know you could make money making content about graphic design and typography and shit. Seems so niche and dumb, but everything is out. There's a million. You can if you really love something, I think the money will follow. And if it doesn't, get another job on the side so you can do your true passion and just do that, work towards that. Identify what you desperately don't want to do. Do you hate the idea of going to school? Then don't. Do you not want to work a 9-to-5 job? Don't. Do you? Do you want a salary, stability, that stuff? Then do it. Just figuring out what you hate and what you don't want to do only brings you closer to finding that true thing that you do love. You can ask yourself, who am I trying to be right now? What am I trying to become? And what do I want to be? How do I want myself represented to other people and what's important to me? And your North Star should be something that challenges you and is a long-term goal and something you can work towards and gives you purpose and structure in the chaos and madness of working on something and grinding it out. But it also makes your day-to-day decisions so much easier. It's like when you're working on an art or design project and you have unlimited, the client says, go crazy, bro. And you have unlimited ideas to choose from. That's harder. When you have a clear direction and North Star, it makes your really day-to-day decisions a lot easier because you know what to say yes and no to, or your mind will tell you and you just have to trust it and trust your gut and your brain. And like I've kind of talked about with some of my own story, I didn't give you the full picture. I think that that's impossible. I don't even know where I would begin to fully explain every phase of my life, but you've seen the North Star has evolved and changed throughout the years, and they don't have to be similar at all. Once one doesn't serve you anymore, move on to the next thing. Some things I want to prompt you with to kind of close out, I guess, is you could drop these in the comments too if you want. I would love people to engage with each other. So first question, would ask yourself, what would make me proud 5 years from now? And also ask yourself, if no one judged me, what would I work on? Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I have by no means this stuff all figured out. The last few years have just kind of worked out pretty well for me, but I do believe that is all backed by having this clear direction and North Star in my life and amazing people around me, like my wife and my friends, that support the vision and the goals. And yeah, just having that structure. I wish you all the best of luck with whatever you pursue in 2026. I hope it turns out amazing and you fuck shit up and you have fun and it works out well. And thank you for rocking with the second episode of this show. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on the audio, subscribe or add it to your library, whatever that is. And if not, that's cool too. But I would appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening. Much love. And I'll see you next week.